All right, continuing the fan series with Liam Daw. You're in Canada, right? Where are you?
Yeah, man, I'm in Calgary, which is a city in Western Canada, the province of Alberta, home of the Flames, but yeah, a little further north than most.
And you're
You
actually a
become a
long.
Jet fan out there. Yeah.
Yeah, no shit. How are you a fan out there, man?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting story. It's not, I mean, it's actually not that interesting at all, but it's just a unique story, I guess. My cousin, he's been a fan for a while. He was the one who actually put me on to the sport back in 2008. So it's kind of started since then. He was a Jets fan. Actually, we both just hated the Patriots. That's how it spawned after that 2007 season. It kind of started out of just not wanting to be anything that was anti-Patriots. And at the moment, that was when, I mean, the end of the Mangini started the Ryan era. That's when the Jets started to pick up real steam and become kind of the primary adversary for Tom Brady. So I liked the way they played football back then, really tough, annoying type of football. And that kind of put me onto them. And I mean, it's been a roller coaster ride since, but I'm a ride or die with it.
So, what are some of your favorite memories from back then, or any of your favorite memories with this team?
I mean, there's a lot of good memories for as many lows as there's been. There's lots of good ones. I've only ever been to one live event, and that was in 2012, the Seattle game. Uh, Only ended up scoring 7 points. It was a Mo Wilkerson fumble for a touchdown, but the 28-7, I think it was the score, and it's pissing rain. But getting to see that team live was interesting, and getting to see a time where they were checking quarterbacks in and out of the huddle differently any given snap with Tebow and Sanchez. That was some football you don't even fathom and probably won't ever see again. So that was definitely a memory that'll probably last for a while. But some of the ups of beating the Patriots multiple times in the 2015 season, 2013 season, obviously in Foxborough on that playoff run, that was huge. And then the game I got in the background right now, the Dallas Darnold game, just to highlight the impact of a player like Darnold can have on the energy of a team. His comeback was one that I really enjoyed as well.
Yeah, it's funny. We've done a few of these interviews now, and a lot of fans, it seems like they came in right around that, 2008, 2009 timeframe. So did you realize how much pain kind of lied ahead after, those first few playoff seasons?
I mean, I wasn't really prepared for how quickly that cliff would come.
Yeah.
I thought maybe their fall from grace would be a little more gradual, but they were so dominant for that 2-year window. It was insane to see a team to fall off a cliff like that. And looking back, I don't know if you guys agree or not. It was, I think the highlighted part where the turning point started, I guess, for a lot of people is that Giants game in December. But for me, getting their S ran up on them by Tim Tebow on a Thursday night in Denver was kind of the start of that kind of catalyst, if you will.
So, good, Kevin, good.
No, I was just gonna say I was there for that Giant game, and yeah, I mean, my soul is still, at MetLife Stadium from that game. I don't think the team's really recovered since. Obviously, they haven't made the playoffs since, so yeah, it's been completely downhill from there.
Oh, dude,
Yeah.
I was there too, dude. It's miserable.
Yeah.
So, who are some of your favorite players, man? Like going back or even current?
I mean, going back, it was Revis. And that's part of I think probably the main attractor for a lot of people and their fandom that I guess spawned at that time was how dominant he was and how a cornerback, I mean, it wasn't really highlighted how much of an impact a corner could make in the game until then. But going forward, I mean, I really was a big fan of Sheldon Richardson and his play early in his career, just as a force, a big guy being able to move that fast and that powerfully was huge. But my favorite, I mean, these are kind of fan favorites, but Jeremy Curley has been one of my favorite Jets for a while. Bilal Powell as well. And rest in peace, Joe McKnight. He was some of the most electric athleticism the team's ever had. So those are some of my favorites. I mean, right now, I'm a big Sam Darnold fan. I'm as big as they get. I think he is truly one of the more gifted players in the league. So right now, yeah, it's all in on 14.
So now, on Football Sunday in Calgary, do like sports bars have the NFL on, or do you have to kind of watch it at home, or how do you go about watching football?
Yeah, NFL is really big in Canada. It's bigger than the CFL. And there's lots of designated sports bars they'll fire on. I mean, those Eastern 11 o'clock. So when the games start, it's 1 p.m. Eastern, but it's 11 o'clock here. So it's a little early, but most bars are open for it. It's hard that you're ever going to find like a Jets Jags, on the bar. Like they're going to be playing the Patriots. The Seahawks obviously are really big because it's so close to here, the Broncos, but it's usually cold as shit too. So I'm usually just bundled up in my house watching, it's a Sunday, probably hungover on a Sunday, kind of dragging my feet at 11 a.m. And, lately not with high expectations, but hopefully going forward and waking up with some excitement, not to dread.
Sometimes the hangover helps, man. So you feel like shit and they play like shit. Nothing really changes for you. You know what I mean?
You're just like, all right, onto the 2 p.m. games.
So what are your expectations for this season? Not just for the team, I guess, but for Sam Darnold also.
As far as a record goes, they're not very high. Look at the divisions that they're playing this year compared to the last. It's just going to get exponentially harder. But who knows what's going to happen with the format, and if they'll be playing in an empty CenturyLink field or they'll be playing in a packed CenturyLink field. Those are big differences. And I mean, I've never been to a game in MetLife, but I feel like that proponent will give the Jets an advantage because sometimes they're not used to, that 80,000 seats isn't exactly what they're drawing at the moment. So these smaller crowds or zero crowds might be something that more teams draw more from than the Jets would have. So maybe that gives them a bit of advantage. But as far as expectations of the team, I expect them to hover right around the 7 to 9 win mark. And what you really want to see is them jump up into the top third of the league in offense, probably, and for Sam to solidify his believers' faith in him. So basically, the people who are excited about what he can project to be can actually realize that in real time, and he's making these decisions and plays on a game-in, game-out basis that wow you and the rest of America. We all know how good he could be.
So what is your biggest concern on offense? I mean, going into the free agency and everything else, it was improve the offensive line, add playmakers around him. Do you think they did enough to make Sam actually flourish this year, or is it more on him to get the most out of them?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably both is the truthful answer. But I think that there's a ceiling on this offense no matter what the personnel is if the system being implemented is being implemented by Adam Gase. But I mean, it's very difficult. I think the intricacies of his offense are don't always fit the strengths. I don't think his offense is designed to just put quarterbacks on boots and play action rollouts. That's what Sam Darnold's good at. He likes them to sit back in the pocket and have this committee approach, where the Jets for a long time have had committee approach. And I think what they needed are 3 or 4 guys that they can put all of the weight on. But for me, I'm excited to see what they can make as far as an improvement from last year with a healthy Chris Herndon, who I think could be an elite tight end athletically, matched with Ryan Griffin, who was a breakout tight end in his own right this season. So putting them both on the field together with some of the new weapons around them, I'm excited for. But you have to be honest and assessing the level of depth and talent on the offense that Joe's had to come in and sort of work with from the ground up. He's not making easy decisions, and whether you agree with a lot of them or not, he's probably making the most logical decisions at this point.
So if they do finish 7-9, 8-8, would that be enough for you to feel comfortable bringing Adam Gase back for another season, or does that more depend on how Sam Darnold plays and just eliminating some of the off-field stuff that we had last year?
Yeah, I mean, it's all based on tone, I guess, and context. So if it's an 8-8 where offensively they were keeping up with every game that they were in, or if it was the defense that secured 7 or 8 of their wins that year. So what you want to see is how they win these games. Are they being able to put up 30 points a game? Even more than 24 points a game is all I'm asking for at this point.
Yeah. So if you look at the defense, I mean, they made some upgrades in the secondary. The corners should be better. But I guess the biggest story right now is this whole Jamal Adams saga with this contract. He wants to get paid now. They want to pay him next year. Who the hell knows what's going to happen? What is your feeling on that?
Yeah, I mean, well, defense is the heartbeat of this team, and it has been since I've been following them. And been a part of the fan base. But as far as the saga with Jamal, it's hard to have an opinion if you're so removed from it. I mean, I'm involved on Twitter, and that's all you can do is kind of trust the folks that are claiming to be inside the situation on Twitter. But other than that, none of us really know how that is actually playing out. I guess the most accurate depiction you'll get is a post from Jamal, because he's usually wearing his heart on his sleeve in that sense. But there's nothing we can do about it, so as may well just put your hands in
Don't
the
give
air.
me this shit, man. If you were Joe Douglas, what would you do? Would you pay him or would you trade him? Like, how would you handle it? You know all the official stuff here, man.
I think he deserves to be paid, man. He's the best safety in the sport, and for what he does in terms of a versatile player on this defense, he deserves his spot on this roster, and he deserves his money going forward. But if you want to look at the intricacies of what his contract demands are and what the market is right now, I mean, Joe Douglas does not need to be giving out massive safety record-breaking contracts to players if he doesn't even know if they're going to be playing a real sport this fall. Why would if you have financial control over Jamal for the next year, 2 plus, if you include the franchise tag, then there's no rush on going and making him the highest paid player at his position if you don't even know if he'll be playing that position in a month or 2 or 3 months down the road, you know?
I don't know, Kevin. Don't let him off, Kevin. Don't let him off.
See, I can understand that argument, but I keep going back to the fact that, one, we don't have anybody to pay next year. And then 2, I mean, you look at everything that he's done through the first 3 years, I think he's gone above and beyond, what we expect of a draft pick. We haven't had many draft picks that have succeeded. So to not reward him in that sense, to not send a message to the rest of the league, or to even risk playing a game of chicken where he demands a trade and refuses to sign with the team, I don't think that's a position that the Jets can really afford to be in with the lack of talent on, the rest of the roster right now.
Yeah, no, and you definitely want to make the president known that if you come in, you exceed expectations, or at least meet them for being the 6th overall pick, then you're going to get rewarded with a second contract. And I think he should be, and I actually think he will be. But as far as timing goes, I think there doesn't need to be a rush right now when we're considering the factors that no one has control over. And if you look at, the best player in this league from the same draft, Patrick Mahomes, he does not have a second contract yet. And they're not even really talking about it yet, as far as I know. So I don't think that he needs to be pushy and force the Jets' hand right now. It's after the draft. The capital that you're going to get from a trade is not going to be worth anything for you this year, which is when you're going to need assets for a growing quarterback and an offense that's trying to expand. But I do think he's going to get paid. He'll probably get paid this year, and I'm not against that. I'm just saying we need to be cognizant of the external factors that Joe is probably working with. I mean, I'm sure he wants to pay the best player in the sport and the best player in that position. And I know how Gase feels about him as well. So I think it's a matter of time. But right now, as the news is slow, these things get highlighted and exaggerated to an extent.
So are there any players that you'd want to sign going forward? There's some pass rushers out there. They look like they were talking to Devontae Freeman at one point, Logan Ryan. Is there anybody you're curious about maybe trying to get in the fold before training camp?
Yeah, players like Devontae Freeman and Logan Ryan are going.
You got Frank Gore, man. What do you need Devontae Freeman for?
Well, that's also can fit in that same umbrella. It goes against my personal philosophy.
Are you wearing a Le'Veon Bell jersey also?
Yeah, I got 2-6 on me.
Use him too.
He's a playmaker. Yeah, he's a playmaker, man. He needs to be used the way he should be, and hopefully with some more holes and space to work with in front of him this year, he can get there. But as far as paying running backs and old corners like Logan Ryan, who's going to be 30 or 31, I think, this year, that kind of goes against what I personally believe in terms of team and roster management. I would prefer to see that money spent on Larry Warford. I think they could use an upgrade on that right guard position. That money doesn't seem to be crazy right now, and I'm sure the guy has a lot of contract offers on his table right now. So there's, like I said, with Jamal, there's no rush to find a home until you know where he'll be playing or if he'll be playing. But I do think they should set their sights on Warford. I'm not as keen on paying older corners. They've already upgraded at corner, I think, exponentially, and running back is. I don't think you need to add another running back coming off of a primary contract. It goes against what I believe in as far as roster management.
And what kind of impact do you think CJ Mosley could have coming back this year if he's healthy?
Well, we all know about week one. I mean, that's about as dominant as a game you can play at that position.
Yep.
And to expect that every game from him in a Jet uniform is probably unrealistic. But in his prime and his peak with that green on, I think you can expect him to be making plays along with Williamson if he comes back. That should be a good duo. I mean, this past year showed that the Jets had, I think, one of the deeper groups at middle linebacker with the players that stepped in, like Hewitt and the cash man. So I think they're set at that position, and I'm excited to see how Greg Williams uses his depth at linebacker for the season upcoming. But, I mean, you expect when Mosley's on the field with hopefully Williamson, our two safeties, and then a Quinn Williams that should be emerging again. It's not anything to be frowning at. It's exciting.
So what would you consider to be the biggest question mark heading into this season?
The biggest question mark is probably the play from the offensive skill players, the availability of the offensive skill players, because I think a lot of us have been at least complacent with what they've surrounded Darnold with, but everyone's kind of taking their turns coming in and out of injury runs, like Herndon, and down the stretch, Crowder is getting banged up, Bell, and then Darnold himself. So for everyone to get healthy, I think that would be the biggest question mark is, can everyone play together? Because I think we've all been somewhat excited with what they could be when they're on paper, but getting everyone out there on the field at the same time is something that I'm looking forward to.
It's funny you have the Jet Cowboy game on in the background there. So obviously Robbie Anderson, I think that was the game he had the 96-yard touchdown. So do you feel comfortable with Perriman kind of taking over for him, or would you have given Robbie that 2-year contract that he got with Carolina?
Yeah, like you said, they don't really have a ton of guys they need to pay right away. And I know that Joe Douglas isn't some guy that's going to go flash, saving money to go flash next year. He's probably a guy who's looking at giving out responsible contracts. And from what I understand, he offered Robbie a pretty understandable and manageable contract. I think they gave him this. Didn't they not offer the same 2-year, $20 million deal? Yeah. And he just chose to play with Matt Rule instead, which may be, indicative of what he thinks of the New York Jets head coach, rather than what the New York Jets head coach could have been. But as far as Robbie goes, I love Robbie. He's a fan favorite on Twitter. He's funny as hell to follow. But at the end of the day, he was kind of a role player in an offense, not a primary pass catcher. And I think they replaced him with someone who's even faster than him in Denzel Mims. People very underrate how speedy he is. He ran a sub 4.5 40 at the combine, and we know how strong he is and how good he is at high pointing the ball. I think he does what Robbie does, and then some. His assets of his game extend further than what Robbie's could have been. But everyone's going to look at just paying Perriman in regards to Robbie Anderson. I mean, those players aren't as comparable in my opinion, but I think what Joe did was feel the pressure of just having to go get a body so that at least there's some established pass catchers on the roster before going into the draft at that point. But as far as Perriman for Anderson, straight up, I'm going Robbie, but I just don't think it was that simple. I think they wanted to keep him. He had different intentions, and they had a backup plan, like a contingency plan, and that was just a player who finished the year really hot. So let's hope that he can continue that.
So you're pretty optimistic, man. You're looking at the bright side and everything. You're feeling kind of good. You're buying into the system here, right?
I'm drinking a little bit right now, so that could have been. It could be like the hops. This is 7% beer, so
we're all in the same boat, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much else to do. I don't know. You guys are in New Jersey. It's a little bit more dire outside your doors, I'm sure, than it is here. But staying inside and drinking has kind of been the MO for most of the people in my circle.
Wow, it's totally we have some pretty good quarantine going on here. So it's like, all right, buy more beer, drink it, and do videos. What else can go wrong?
We'll find out.
So now you got a pretty fancy setup there with a nice microphone and shit. Are you some kind of DJ or voice of the people, or what are you over there?
Yeah, well, my background is in broadcasting. I work for a radio station currently, so I have.
What kind of station?
It's a community radio station. It does a lot of underground music that showcases a lot of local talent in Calgary. But I've kind of bounced around. This third station I've worked for. Most of them just been commercial radio. This is kind of my first dip and dive into underground radio. It's really fun so far, though. My internship was a sports one as well, and so just happy to be behind a microphone. And right now, most of my PSAs and voiceover I'm doing is from home. So just trying to retrofit my house to handle that while we kind of just bunker down.
This is awesome, man. He's like talking to a pro here, man. It's like we'll be calling into his show soon. Shit.
Yeah, Wednesday nights, 10 p.m. Mountain Time. So that's
I'll call in, man. Can I call and talk like rock music with you and stuff? I'll do it.
Yeah, let's go. Right now, the show I'm hosting is one of kind of R&B and soul. Very easy listening.
Well, that's Kevin's stuff then. I'm more into the angry shit.
Not R&B.
My show's the kind of show that stoners call into.
That's definitely Kevin.
That I can call into.
Well, Liam, first of all, thank you for your time. You have any questions for us or anything else you want to talk about? We'll give you a. You like one of our first. You used to call in all the time, man. Like years ago to our radio show.
Yeah, back when it was you, Dennis. But
yeah, Dennis Agapito.
There wasn't a ton. I mean, like I mentioned, where I'm from, there's not a lot of Jet fans. There's definitely a few, and I know a few who live in Calgary. I mean, Calgary is a bigger city; it's almost 2 million people in it. But there's not a lot of New York Jet fans out on the western side of this continent in general. So becoming part of the community has basically just been exclusively through Twitter, and that's kind of and podcasting essentially. So that's where I stumbled across Let's Talk Jets, and it's kind of been history from there. I mean, kind of just listening in the distance for a lot of it, but if I have the time and the space, joining into the chaos is always fun. I mean, you guys have had a very funny and eclectic mix of regulars ever since the show started. So it's been fun to kind of keep up and, follow along through Twitter and the odd episode and jump in every once in a while. But it's been something that I just don't really have here is people who are engaged in the Jets Twitter community, engaged in the team on a beat perspective. So it's been fun to kind of follow along up here.
No, it's been cool, like actually meeting you, like seeing you in person, or in person, but like over this is cool as shit. I remember you used to call them like, holy shit, a Jet fan in Canada. This is awesome. So
yeah, I mean, there's fans of everything everywhere, right? But that's just the world we live in now, where I can follow along. I can do a three-way call talking about this shitty team who plays in New Jersey. But it's wild. But it's been fun just to be a part of the Jets Twitter, because I think that is one of the more chaotic and hilarious team fandoms I think there is, just from an external perspective. I mean, I've never been to New Jersey or New York, and but you kind of just get a sense of how it is based on the personalities online, and it's just hilarious to follow along. I mean, Jets Tank is just like my favorite Twitter account. That guy's fucking hilarious.
You can make a very good case that the fan base is bipolar, man, because it's just like
how could you not be?
It gets hot and cold in a second. It's, like any kind of breaking news comes out, all shit breaks loose. It's never a dull moment.
No, I mean, the team definitely does its best to try and pump out content that just infuriates or motivates this fan base. I mean, it's just the hot and cold that kind of goes on. Just from even the team's official releases itself is just hilarity and humorous in its own right. But throw in this melting pot of fans from, everywhere from Calgary, Alberta to Hoboken. It's just hilarious.
No, it's crazy. Well, dude, first of all, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. Thanks for calling in. That's always been a blast. So we definitely appreciate it, man. This is a good time.
Yeah, man. I'm interested to see what you guys do with this project. I mean, it's getting creative now as far as content goes, and everyone's staying home. So happy I could kind of contribute in that sense.
Yeah, man. We got to do it again sometime.
Appreciate it, man.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Just let me know when you're planning on doing it again, and I'll have a couple pints and fire up the old computer.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
Thanks,
man.
Liam. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah. Take care, guys.
See you later.
You too.
All right, cool. I think you're still recording, man.
Yeah.